The artist drives him or herself from piece to piece, trying to find meaning to begin again on these spoiled, spent remains. No, think of a banker setting up stool on a charred remains in Hiroshima. All one knows how to do what one does, despite lost meaning. Despite lost meaning.
I'm Mary Langille, wife of the late Chris Langille, and I'd like to just introduce him to you through some of his writings and things that we worked on compiling over the years. Chris did a book called Taking Root, an autobiography. We called him an artist, philosopher, and house husband. Currently, I live with my wife on the 6th-generation family farm in the Les Hills of southwest Iowa on White Lodge Farm. The place was homesteaded by my great-grandfather Leroy Rodman and his brothers Solomon and James. We've restored the land to a native prairie rich with the forbs, legumes, and native grasses of the Les Hills, and take great solace in the transcendental relationship with nature. I find it somewhat ironic that my artwork does not often reflect the pastoral lifestyle that I live. I had the romantic notion in college that you put art before life. If I just created art, it justified everything else. It's a difficult course indeed to be true to your own aesthetic, yet make it commercially. These are matters of the ego. Yet we all live by something. Those of us that choose art to live by understand the meaning of sacrifice, to keep doing what you are doing and be normal and raise a family and improve what you have been given generationally.
My dad as an artist and how he kind of, how I've been impacted is a broad question, but I was doing some photography as an image I did with these Amish people in this town near where I was living. And I was kind of proud of this image because I kind of remember my dad talking about how a great image, or if you're looking at something and trying to compose it, you want to look at that negative space as much as you do the positive space. It always stuck to me in kind of life in general, like kind of understanding not only what's in front of you, but like that negative space behind.
Drawing is at the base of my painting. I divorced myself from the line when I'm involved with pure color and abstraction takes hold existing for itself. Look at my work and get close to the surface. Other intentions and submissions emerge, paintings within paintings, gestalts within gestalts. My painting exists on paper and cardboard and canvas scrolls. Painting creeps into all my work, from brushwork on ceramic sculpture and pots, to printmaking and painting on my wife Mary's porcelain wind chimes. Painting influences show up in the found object sculpture series and in my printmaking using etcher's ink as print or using the brush to draw.
Well, in general, him being an artist was very influential to my life. My room was right across, and I would always hear him in here, and it was always very comforting hearing him tinkering around, painting. And I didn't listen to a lot of music because I had my music blaring, is probably why. But it was just really comforting knowing he was right here. And he would, in my teenage years, he would knock on my door and ask me to come in and check out a new piece of artwork. And it was a special connection that we had, that he would ask me what I see, and then it felt a connection that a confirmation that I saw something similar in his art that he intended.
Painting can be all about brushes, those extensions of fingers. Each one has a character of its own. With all the multitasking in a contemporary person's life, it is easy to abandon brushes without cleaning them. Sometimes it can be like losing a very good friend. It is a privilege to hold a brush without holding paint and lay it down in an expressive moment. Paint can bring life to form and form to life in the art of illusion and sensation.
Grandpa was a big inspiration to all of the grandchildren. At a little age of 4, in 2006, I created this piece with my grandpa. me and him. It was a collaboration we did together of a birdman called Krishna. Can you count all the birds? And he's always got us all into art and tried to get the best out of us.
This piece is called The Evolution. I printed this in 2018, which is last year, with my grandpa Chris, and I just love to etch because he taught me what it is and like how to do it, and he's made it just something that I just want to start doing. He always said this on every sketch I did, add detail. He's just really taught me tons of stuff that I will always remember.
Dry point etching, the addiction to the smell of etcher's ink, the Picasso in me, the black blacks, the lustful Rembrandt in me, the tragedy in Goya's where ugly turns beautiful, and the reflecting beauty in the multiple creation.
I was in my room for hours working on an art project that I had just thought up, and it was kind of commercial. It was a girl on in a profile, and I brought it into the studio here and asked him to look at it, and I thought he was going to be proud of it, of course. And he said, well, you totally messed up on the eyes, and these Egyptian eyes, that's not how eyes look. And at first I was like, you're supposed to just say, it's great. That's what non-artist parents would say. But he did take the time to show me the perspective of the eye looking correctly, and I've never forgotten that, and it definitely did help me as an artist. But it reminded me too of how truthful he always was. He always told us the truth. Even if it was hard to hear, he told us the truth. And so there's just so much that lives on in us through him.
Chris would always sketch everywhere he was, on the road, at the table, if you were talking to him on the phone.
Thumbnails can express sincerity, authenticity, expressiveness, and that immediacy can objectify any moment.
It's always nice to get some work done when traveling. When operating a visual journal over a long period of time, it's a challenge to keep up when life is constantly changing.
So we were in the dining room at the coffee table, drinking coffee. It was around 4 a.m. and I was just sitting with him. We were talking like everyone does with Grandpa. And I look over and I see that the whole time we were talking, he had been drawing a picture on a napkin with just a random pen. And he showed it to me when we were about to leave, and it was a picture of myself. And at first I didn't like it because it looked just like me. I didn't like to see all the imperfections, but later I just realized it was beautiful, and that sums up how he was as a person and as an artist. He could turn something junky like a napkin and make it a beautiful piece of art.
Sketching.
Yeah, sketching. I'm gonna say, take me to dog heaven. That's it. Just take me to dog heaven.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Yeah. Just go round and round. Don't do it! No, don't push it! Just let it go round. Okay, let's go.
Painting is an endless possibility. On pieces of paper, wood, rock, or stone. Whatever I choose, paint can write on the back of anything, including clothing and skin.
grinding on a stone, no sparing the ears or the lungs, speeding up friction, becoming elemental, taking wood or stone into symbolhood, takes a toll, shortening a life, but no worse than falling from the scaffolding of a Sistine Chapel. C.S. Langille. As we traveled around doing some of that artwork at art shows across the country, we would always stop and get stones along the way. Sometimes it was uncomfortable to be stopped on the side of a freeway with rushing cars going past and watching your father try to pull a rock out of the side of the road and wrestle it back into the vehicle. And well, as we grow older, we realize that, you know, those rocks were rocks that we were walking on around our house. And then later he learned to carve those rocks. And when I got started in my trade that I'm in, doing marble and granite for the last 20 years, you know, Pa and I kind of inspired each other working with rocks. This piece of marble here, in my business, we would throw away in our scrap pile, and they would get recycled into road matter, and he would take those pieces that he found and he would turn them into artwork. So, you know, that's very inspiring from my perspective to see all this stuff be thrown away, be turned into something that's so beautiful.
Artistic treasures passed from generation to generation, conceived, sculpted, moments which can survive the tides of time. Grandpa gave me this arrowhead that he found on the property, and this is an example of artistic treasures that have been passed down to him, and he passed it back down to me. He has his own arrowhead that he used for inspiration for most of his drawings about the Native Americans.
Poured into me all the touch turning hard in the sun, keeping myself frozen in time as petrified as wood. The idea of, like here you are as a person growing older, you have your memories. Well, when you bring them up, it's sort of like the house computer feeling, like when you get your memories, after you process them, you lose them, and then you just, you undo your brain, clean your brain before you die. But the idea is that these ideas, these experientials, get petrified in somewhere, and it's like petrified wood, like you become like petrified wood, and it saves your memories and sort of a holding zone for your spirituality.
The firewood series was a response to burning with wood for so many years. It was inevitable that I tried to make a sculpture out of a resource so readily available here on the farm. I guess every artist has a material or a medium that they just naturally flow to. I burn with wood as well, and so that's how I grew up, and a lot of that was just being out in the woods with my dad, collecting firewood, and then he would take a break and start sculpting. And so I observed, and I do a lot of the same thing myself when I'm out. If you find a cool piece of wood, you turn it into something. And so just turning a chore but still finding art through everything has really stuck with me. Like the passing down of how to use the tools, how to sharpen a chainsaw, all the mechanical things. He never lost the artistic aesthetic. You know, art, he would have saved it for art rather than throw it in the fireplace. So that was always instilled to us with everything, that there's an aesthetic, and it can be more than what it is when you just pick it up, I guess.
We were very public people. We did art shows for 35 years of our marriage. He trained me as a ceramic artist, and part of that ceramic business kept us alive.
I am the clay. The clay is my will. My will shepherds my spirit to a perfect spiritual circle. I am a process. I go round and round. I am just circular energy. I know how to function inside of a circle. I can hollow that circle by not operating against its perfect circular will. I know the center, for I allow the perfect circle to pass through. For Maya, 1999.
Well, here we are in Chris's clay studio, and this was one of his, I would say, biggest mediums was the clay, and it was one of the ones that I sort of held on to the most as far as his lessonry and his approach to the three-dimensional world. He had quite a perspective on that, and kind of quite a grasp on pottery. He was a master, and these are a couple of the students, my kids, Bodhi and Shanti, and they've been taking his lessons for some time as well. And I feel like his educating others and inspiring art in others was a huge goal in his life, and he did a great job at going across really the country and the state, especially, and instilling in a lot of art in kids and a lot of just ways to think about things differently. He was very, I would say, intense with his pottery lessons at times, but not in a way that was mean, but enough that you would have, kind of a memory of your experience.
It was always fun when he was giving us lessons, and I always learned something new, different styles of making things, and making things that are useful and that could help you in the future. I was homeschooled, and my mom dropped me off here a lot. We had a really good relationship, and he taught me how to make a lot of stuff in here on the potter's wheel and building.
So I wanted to talk about something that Grandpa gave me when I was younger. It was this porcelain cup that he made, and he was giving out like little trinkets to all of the cousins, and we got to choose one, and so I chose this, and to me it was really special. I used to always drink out of it and just kind of look at it every day. It kind of made me feel connected to Grandpa in some kind of way.
Anything that has a beginning, a dot or line, may continue to become the whole thing. It may start out modestly, but quickly graduates to a roughed-out composition with a purpose in mind. It is interesting to think how I most often do not have control over what comes out. When I was younger, I learned how to walk through my dreams. I let my subconscious do the walking a lot, which is a working method that really works for me.
Creation is feminine, destruction is masculine, matching and balance mind, body, nature to the beauty within. Each and everything cherishes sacred objects to keep a balanced perspective to the souls within.
The most important lessons that my dad taught me were how to treat people and how to love people and how to love the people that you don't really love and the strangers, the people that other people have a hard time loving. And that's something that I am trying to pass on to my children.
As a blessing that I married into the Langille family, because Chris was such an amazing artist and he understood my background and we connected a lot that way. He's done a lot of artwork that has to do with the Hindu religion or Buddhism, and he's created some wonderful pieces for our family. This is one of them. It's a ceramic piece of Krishna.
Chris communicated in a lot of different ways. One of the ways that I felt that was he and I's connection was the way that he perfectly placed everything in our family portrait that allowed us to feel not only accepted but loved.
Well, my dad was just such a welcoming guy and would share his time with anybody who would, who wanted to, whatever it was. If it was just like a hug or, to refine somebody's skill on a higher level. So yeah, he had all those things.
He's just been, to me, a life teacher. It just makes me feel good that it's hard, but I'm trying to follow his footsteps to become an artist, kind of like he has.
Anybody who got to know Chris grew to understand that he was always looking for something deeper in people. And
I wrote this recently and kind of related to just kind of the broad principles of Chris Langille, or my dad. Universalist, swimming in the native mist, unconditional love for the crying man. That's universalist. Back to the land, back to the land. Imagine, protect, then building the dam that protects family, that cherishes ancestry. That's universalist. Pottery wheel turns, love imprinted on porcelain hands. Children hold his urn, covering the universal man. White geese circle the ground, circle the ground, circle the ground, turning into circle of light, circle of light, circle of light. Universalist, swimming the native mist, unconditional love for the crying man. That's universalist. That's my dad.
Of course, Chris loved Picasso, was a great influence on his life. All through college, his whole life, he wanted to be like Picasso and fill up all these buildings with artwork. And he got a pretty good start on it, because this is all solid. Above me is full of artwork. To the left of me, above in another attic, is full of artwork and paintings and all these buildings. And so we hope that you'll enjoy looking at this artwork as much as the family. I happen to be the only person who has seen all of Chris's work, and I've documented it all. And so I would like to share that with the world.
Iowa blue is not a depression, but only fresh air in a very large sky. Freedom is leaving no prints on the land, having dragonflies flying in your wake and an empty mosquito upon the hand. A place where no one wants to go and finally feels safe without an identity. The great thing about nowhere is that it leads to everywhere. Obscurity can't last forever when you're holding down a piece of heaven.
A love wants the world to see its broken heart.
We were playing Frisbee last night outside, and there were a whole bunch of deer just watching us play, and so we stopped to watch them. It is a refuge for wildlife, for our family, for all of the artwork that has been protected all of these years.
To be an artist is a contemporary phenomenon, free of restraint of benefactor. Only relatively recent in human time has the artist and the artisan been relatively alone, stranded perhaps in a pre-digital age. So many times in history, Artists made wares for the Aztec king or the Egyptian pharaoh before servicing directly their own creative needs. So that is why I talk about myself being an experiment. To be an artist is an absurd proposition, as is being human in general. Still, the point has come to share my work and be strong enough to bear the consequences of breaking a few taboos without any protection from fame.